Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy from Cichlid Bros. In today's video, we're going to be walking through a care guide and a species profile on the Chocolate Cichlid. This is one of my favorite fish, and I have one in my 180-gallon aquarium here. Excited to talk through this one, and guys, let's dive right in. So this is my 180-gallon South American cichlid tank. And in this tank, I have about a 6-inch juvenile chocolate cichlid. I've had this guy about 8 months now, and he's been an awesome fish to keep. Growing up, my dad had a chocolate cichlid named Bigfoot, and it had a ton of personality, and I think it stuck with me and my brothers, and also a big reason we got into cichlids in the first place. So I thought it was only fitting to get another chocolate cichlid and name him Bigfoot as well. Although Bigfoot here is only about 6 to 7 inches long, chocolate cichlids can reach up to 10 to 12 inches. Just look at this full-grown adult here. We're going to show a lot more of him later on in the video. Chocolate cichlids are sometimes called emerald cichlids because they get a lot of that green in their body, especially when they're young and juveniles. But as they get older, they usually get that darker coloration in their body. Chocolate cichlids are very personable, and you can always tell they're watching or sizing you up, looking for food. Bigfoot here actually kind of looks like Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. It's a trap! Chocolate cichlids are sometimes confused with other South American cichlids like the walrus, since they do share a lot of coloration and personality and size, but they are different species. As mentioned, chocolate cichlids are South American cichlids, and they come from the Amazon River basins primarily, in areas where there's slow-moving water, a lot of rocks, driftwood, and sand. And that's really the type of environment I would recommend for their aquarium setup, is just trying to mimic their natural habitat. Like most South American cichlids, they prefer lower pH and softer water, with temps in the high 70s to low 80s. However, they can be kept in higher pH and harder water. As long as you keep the rest of your parameters consistent and your nitrates low, they should be just fine. These guys do get very big. They are gentle giants. They can reach up to a foot in length. Just look at the size of this adult male here. This guy's about 10 inches long. This footage is from my friend ELAquarium. I'll link his Instagram and his YouTube down below. A big thank you to him for sharing this video, so make sure to give him a follow. It's usually pretty easy to distinguish a male from a female. This is a male here, and you can see they get that nuchal hump. They also have elongated dorsal and anal fins like this guy, so those are both telltale signs for a male. Because these fish get so big, I would recommend at least a 75-gallon aquarium for one of them, and if you're going to have other tank mates with them, I would prefer something much larger than a 75. But in that aquarium setup, I would recommend sand, driftwood, and rocks, and they can also do well with some live plants. A lot of other South American cichlids would rip up all plants that I put in the tank, but sometimes chocolate cichlids can get away with things like Java fern and Anubias and be just fine. Depending on the other tank mates, I would actually recommend live plants, as they do help pull out nutrients and excess nitrates from the water and provide them a little more comfort and cover in the aquarium. When it comes to feeding chocolate cichlids, I would just recommend high quality pellets or flakes. I usually use the Extreme brand, but really chocolate cichlids won't be picky. They are herbivores, so mixing in some vegetables with some protein is always a good thing to do. Everything I've fed in this tank, my chocolate cichlid will take readily, and he's definitely one of the most eager eaters, as you can see here. Also, they have a fairly large mouth, so they can take some pretty big pellets. This was a jumbo pellet that I was testing out, and this guy ate it very quickly. Overall, they're very similar to the Oscar in how much they eat and the waste they produce, so just make sure you have very adequate filtration so that you can manage all of that excess waste. Speaking of the Oscar, he is trying to take the spotlight right now, but they are very good tank mates for a chocolate cichlid. Since chocolate cichlids are semi-aggressive, but mostly they're gentle giants as long as they're in a tank with similar larger South American, even Central American cichlids. They have been known to be particularly aggressive to their own kind, so if you have more than one chocolate cichlid, that could be an issue, so just keep that in mind. But when it comes to great tank mates, like I said, the Oscar is a very good option. Another great option is the Severum. I would say this is actually probably the most compatible pairing because they're both fairly large, but they're also pretty docile when it comes to bigger cichlids. Another great option is the electric Hypselecara. Also, most of the Geophagus species will work just fine with the chocolate cichlid. I have 7 Geophagus tapajos in this tank with my chocolate cichlid, and they get along great. Other great options are walrus or angelfish. Most plecos will be just fine with chocolate cichlids. Silver dollars are a great option if you want some more activity in your tank. I would maybe stay away from the green terrors and jaguars and red devils, as they seem to be a little too aggressive for the chocolate cichlid. Very small fish like neon tetras or your smaller barbs are probably best to stay away from, as the chocolate cichlid might see them as an expensive snack. When it comes to breeding, chocolate cichlids will pair up, and at that time they might become really aggressive towards other tank mates, so just watch out for that. They'll usually lay eggs on an upright piece of slate or decor. Sometimes they'll also dig out some pits in the substrate or the sand. Chocolate cichlids can live over 10 years long, so just make sure you have a long-term plan for these guys if you are to keep them. I would really recommend it just because they're so personable and they do well in a South American cichlid tank like this. And I just love that community type setup and that biotope for South Americans. Okay guys, that does it for today's video. If you'd like to see another care guide on any other cichlids that we haven't done already, please leave those in the comments section down below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.